Alrighty, so on my last video series on renewals, it wasn't quite complete. And there were some complaints that I didn't cover certain scenarios like multi-year contracts or prorated contracts, or even situations like midterm churn, midterm contract adjustments, contract extensions, so on and so forth. So I thought that I would continue on the series and get into some of the more complex details for contract management on renewal opportunities to ensure you are getting a proper report of revenue movement as you upsell, downsell, so on and so forth, manage your different contracts with your different clients. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and go through this. So, in the last series, we just talked about simple upsells and downsells based on the close date and the amount. However, the issue with this is that it assumes that these are all annualized contracts and that they happen exactly every 1 year. And the fact of the matter is that just doesn't happen. So what we have to do is use fields like contract start date, term, end date, subscription value annualized, and the amount field in order to correctly show when upsells or downsells happen based on these different prorated or multi-year contracts. So I've highlighted here the fields that you need to create on the opportunity in order to do this correctly. And then I'll give you a couple examples of deals that happen that are prorated or multi-year. And then you'll be able to see how you can compare a 2-year deal with a 1-year deal, whether or not it was an upsell or not. Same with, you could even compare a 2-year deal with a 6-month deal. And the way you do that is by annualizing the value. So that's what we're going to cover in this video, is how to actually annualize contract value. So let's get into the field creation. So we're going to start by creating contract start date and term, and then we'll get into these formula fields here and go from there. So let's get started. So we're going to make a new field. It will be a date field. Then we're going to make the contract term field. Now we're going to get into contract end date. This one is a little more complicated. Basically, we want to use the term to calculate the end date, because the term is simply just going to tell us when the end date is. It's going to be, you just add the number of months to that date, and then it should be 1 day prior to that. So I have the formula here. Let's check the syntax. Okay, thanks to ChatGPT, we have the formula here, which is going to calculate the date 1 year from now minus 1 day. Now let's go ahead and save this. Now we want to make a field called annual subscription value, which is also a formula. Which is just going to be amount divided by, we want contract term times 12. Lastly, we can't rename this, but this is amount field is now going to represent total subscription value no matter the length of the contract. So if I can add a description here, I will. Okay, now let's go back to our opportunity, and we're going to adjust the page layout. We want to adjust both of these. We'll start with this section. Add a new section called contract section. It's going to have the start date, the term, the end date, the annual subscription value. I'll even move the amount into here. Some of these other fields I'll just move. All right, this looks good to me. Maybe I'll move the term here or underneath. Okay. Yeah, that looks fine. Save that. And we'll do the same with the renewals. Save that. All right. So we've done everything here. We can exit this. Let's refresh this. Okay, we have our contract section here. Now, for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and edit the original new booking for this account here, Alpha Tech. And it says it was closed on July 25th, 2024. So let's add some dates in here. July 25th. And then the term is going to be 12, and save that. Okay, so now we have the contract start date, the end date, and the term. So I noticed an error in this formula here. It's returning the same day. I want it to be one day prior, because that is the proper way to structure a contract. So we're just going to adjust this formula to subtract one more day, which is going to be pretty easy. All we have to do is add a -1 here. Check the syntax, save it, and we should be good here if we refresh this. So, okay, so perfect. Now the end date is one day before, and then the contract for the next renewal should be exactly another year from this. Okay, so now let's go ahead and adjust the renewal. Now the renewal is going to be, this should automatically be July 25th, 2025. And then this will be 12. And we can go ahead and save this. Okay. So this is what the renewal is going to look like. Now imagine if the total subscription amount we wanted to increase to $5,000. Okay, so now you can see the annual subscription has gone up. But what happens if the term is cut in half for whatever reason? You'll see the annualized subscription value goes up. But if they're still paying $5K, this actually doubles their annual subscription value. Now, there's lots of different things going on here. Usually this would actually happen on the active contract. So if, for example, they were paying and then all of a sudden during this active contract, which is currently ongoing, if they wanted to extend the term, maybe you're giving them a free month of their contract, for example, you would adjust this to 13, and you'll see the annualized value has actually gone down. Now, we would also have to adjust the renewal because the date for this just moved an extra month. So this would now be August 25th, and we would save that. And now it aligns properly with this end date. So there's some more automation you can add in, some screening flows to make sure that this process happens cleanly, because obviously this is super easy for CS to mess up, or whoever's doing the renewals. Another thing I wanted to mention that you'll also have to change is the revenue movement would also be adjusted, and it would no longer be taking from this amount formula. It should be taking from the annual subscription value. So I'll walk you through that as well in another video, but this is starting to get long, so I'm going to keep this at that. And this is just going to be a baseline for how to deal with prorated contracts in this case, or a multi-year contract. That could be another way to deal with it. And you'll see shortly how to compare deals or contracts of different length with each other by annualizing their subscription amount. So I will leave this at that, and we'll see you in the next video.